Hey there, it's Nick and Ron with another edition of Ask Ron. How you doing today, Ron?
I'm doing good. We're in the third day of the Quick Start Real Estate School here in Jacksonville, and got one more day to go.
Yeah, almost there. We're just about 75% of the way through. Long week, huh?
Another day at the office.
All right. Well, we got quite a few questions this week. Are you ready for some?
Sure.
All right. We're going to start with a few questions from Tony and Angie in Ohio. Tony and Angie say, I have a seller that is open to terms, but concerned that the HOA won't allow a tenant buyer to rent in that neighborhood. How should I deal with this?
Well, you should, that information should come from the seller's HOA docs, or you can simply call the HOA. We've done that several times and asked them. So, it's up to the seller to provide the answer to that question.
All right. Another one from Tony and Angie. We are excited and getting ready for Quick Start in Columbus, where we live.
See you there.
What should we review, read, or do in advance to get the most out of the event?
Get a pile of leads and bring them, and as good a quality leads as you can get. Because remember, quality leads, we don't have to call near as many of them as we do the quantity leads. So just come prepared. I'm bringing several mentors there, and they can go out and sit in the hallway and call all the leads you guys bring and see how many deals we can do during that event. Looking forward to it. I'll be getting out there in a hotel room with real people instead of sitting in front of this TV for 4 days.
Next question from Tony and Angie again. Using Ron's Deal Finder, what searches are you finding most helpful in finding sellers of pretty houses that are open to terms?
Actually, I got several things going on, and I can't. I know I'm used several sources. I've whacked a couple of them, and still using some more, and always trying to find the next one. But the key is that when I'm paying for leads, or when you're paying for leads, the smaller the city, the cheaper it's going to cost per lead. So I live in Jacksonville, about 1.5 million people. I tried a couple of things and I just couldn't get them to work, but I changed the parameter. For example, I was using Nicholas Nick to cold call people, and he was doing that. He wasn't getting very good results. So I changed it, and I gave him 4 or 5 outlying cities, and we get leads almost every day from him just because we make that tweak. You're going to probably have to experience the same thing. Find out what's not working, and then see if you can talk with the supplier of the leads and find out what to do to change it. So we're getting leads by mailing postcards to probate. I've got an ad in the daily newspaper now, and that's about as far as my memory is going to let me carry that right now. We're going to go through all of that the last half of the first day of the boot camp in Columbus. Spent a lot of time on it.
I wish in marketing, I wish I could just knew a specific list that would always work every time in every city.
There's no such thing.
All right. Next question. In this week's Gold Club email, Andrew Schlag did an article on hiring an acquisitionist. In that article, he mentioned that he has them sign a 2-year non-compete. Is there any additional training outside of what we get in the boot camp on contracts and other considerations in hiring an acquisitionist?
Well, I too have one, and I too have a 2-year non-compete. I don't have any specific training on hiring an acquisitionist like Andrew does, but mine's very simple. Frankly, I split the front end profits with mine. I mean, he does all the work, all of it. But on the other hand, he didn't come from a background of not knowing anything about real estate. So he was already did 7 deals last year on his own. So he wasn't ignorant when I got him. So you'll probably have to spend more time training your acquisitionist on the terms business, because my guy, all he ever did was wholesale deals. Consequently, we've done several of those this year because that's what he knew. But he's learning the terms thing along the way, and he's learning the contracts along the way. And to be honest, he makes mistakes every time he writes one. So I make him send it to me first, and I tell him what to fix. And pretty soon I don't have to do that anymore. So that's the downside of training. It requires some of your patience and some of your time, which nobody wants to actually give. There's the chair, get in and do the job tell me when it's done. It's more we'd all like to do, but I have to have a little patience. But you certainly got to have your acquisitionists get on the phone with some practice calls with my scripts, with my 14 mistakes, and let them make some practice calls and listen to them and let them tell you what they did wrong. Make sure they're recorded, and pretty soon that person will get a lot better just because of the practice and your input, which honestly is the same thing I did with all of my mentors. They all sucked when they got on the telephone, so I had to listen to their recordings, which was really painful, I got to tell you, and until they got better, and now they're all aces. And so we get them to come to the boot camps to call on your leads. We're getting deals, so bring plenty of leads.
So with your acquisitionist, I assume you, what training did you give them? Did you put them through the terms course and through Quick Start School?
Well, he had already been to Quick Start School before I found him, and I didn't know it. But no, I didn't make him listen to any course or anything. But he understood the basics of the terms business. He just didn't know how to go about it.
Sure.
But he got some wholesale deals coming in pretty quick.
All right. Next question from Robert in Oregon. I'm having problems with a person getting them to agree with my helping them and agreeing to the terms of agreement. Any suggestions?
Robert, I'm not sure I know what that means, actually. I mean, how would you interpret that question?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he just means he's having trouble getting sellers to agree to terms.
Well, honestly, everybody has that trouble in the beginning because they make a mess out of it. If you haven't mastered the closing call, that's your problem. But that's probably all combined with generating leads from unmotivated sellers. So we spend a lot of time in the boot camp showing you tons and tons of ways to get quality leads coming in and get the sellers calling you instead of you chasing them. Totally different conversations when that happens. So you've got to implement some lead generating methods to get better leads. And we're getting, I don't know, 1 out of 7, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 12 of them to turn into a deal. So it starts with your source of leads, and then it ends with your ability to handle that closing call. And honestly, I don't know whether you've been to the Quick Start School or not, but if I were you, I'd get that on your agenda pretty quick.
And even if you're going to some pretty good lead sources and you're getting pretty good on the phone, most of the people are still not going to be agreeable to terms.
That's correct.
Right.
And it may or may not be your fault. Even the best people calling on these leads are going to get a lot of no's. So, I mean, you expect that going in. You got to get them top of the funnel and work them on down to the people that we can work with, just like every business.
Another question from Robert. How many states around the U.S. do you travel to so as to teach real estate courses?
Nowadays, not many. In fact, how many boot camps did we do this year? We've only done, are going to do 3 this year that are out of our city, and probably, I don't know, maybe 6 in our city. I'm not sure. But I'm nowhere near the travel that I used to do. In fact, I just sold my plane at the first part of this year. Hated to do that, but I hated to see it sit out there and cost me a bunch of money just sitting on the tarmac too. I just didn't get enough use out of it. And I'll be going to Columbus in September. And that's the last time I'll be leaving town for the whole rest of this year, to my recollection. So,
yeah, you're going to have to fly commercial there, huh?
I've already been doing that, man. It sucks. I mean, it sucks. So next year's schedule I'm working on, and I am going to do one in Vegas. I know that. And no, we're going to do one in New Jersey. And probably going to do at least 5 or 6 next year in the hotel, and the rest of them be virtual.
Okay. And one more question from Robert. Your new book, Lessons Learned, none of the bookstores in this area have it. I can only seem to get it from Amazon. Do you know of any other major book retailers that sell it so I do not have to pay for shipping?
No, because we haven't hired somebody to distribute it like you normally would. So you won't find it in the bookstores. And well, I guess Amazon would only give you the electronic version. Well, we bring the hard copy to our boot camp, so when you come, I'll even autograph it for you. But no, I don't know where else you can get it. You?
I mean, I know it's mainly Amazon, and I think it goes to other bookstores just depending on how popular it is in that area, how many people in that area are buying it. So buy a bunch of copies there, and then it might show up in your bookstore. Gary in Utah says, what is your criteria for buying wholesale or owner financing and selling lease option? Work for equity or wholesale?
What the heck does that say? I don't understand it.
I guess let's start with what's your criteria for buying wholesale or owner financing?
Cheap price is wholesale, ugly house, and it'll need rehab or you won't get it cheap enough. And what about
What's your criteria for buying owner financing?
good terms, low down payment or no down payment, good monthly payment. Prefer not to do much work on them at all. And the longer the term, the better. And some of them are the whole term of their underlying loan. So in other words, we call these golden geese. So when I buy on terms, I sell on terms. I buy for cash, I sell for cash.
All right. And then I guess what determines whether you sell on lease option, work for equity, or wholesale it?
If it's ugly and needs rehabbed, I'm wholesaling it right now. If it's I got a nice house and it's got good terms, I'm going to put a lease option tenant buyer in it. If it's in a good, decent area and it needs some work, was as much as $15,000-$20,000 worth, then I might decide to wholesale it. I mean, not wholesale it, but on doing a work for equity lease option. Work for equity is nothing more than a lease option the house out, but they do their own work with their own money and their own labor in exchange for a little discount in the price. Do them all. Do all those.
All right. Our next question is from Rob in Illinois. Rob says, should you let the Gold Club FSBO leads mature for 60 to 90 days before calling them?
No. No way. You get them called immediately and follow up. If you're in the dream system, you put them in there and it'll do the follow up for you. But if I don't get a good answer today, I'm going to keep hitting them with emails until they contact me. And they're, so I don't know, maybe follow up with them for 6 months, unless they just emphatically tell you there's no way they're going to sell for on terms. And I don't even believe that, to tell you the truth, because people's minds change. You're going to have to determine how long you want to follow up on them. But of course, a lot of them are listed and sold and all of that. There's no reason to follow up on them. But you will get a lot of deals on the back end from the follow up.
I like to ask them, if they're just absolutely no, say, okay, well, is it all right if I follow up with you in about a month or two?
I do the same thing.
And if they say yeah, then just put them on there.
Perfect.
If it's already listed, you can, okay, well, when, maybe set it for 6 months out when their listing expires.
Yeah, that's true.
Delores in Nevada. Hey, Ron, I met with a FSBO seller who was willing to finance. This is my first deal on Planet Ron. Will this deal count as my first deal if it's a deal I don't want to exit? Plan to live in this home myself. The seller is asking $40,000 down, 1 year financing, or lease option 30,000 down, $2,000 per month. Actually, I don't know if this is 30,000 down for the lease option or 3,000.
Well, it certainly isn't 30. And I sense a problem here, which is the 1 year term. You ain't going to live in this house just for 1 year. So you're, frankly, that's not even hardly a terms deal.
Nope.
It sounds to me like your only exit strategy.
Let me continue, because she does continue to say, I negotiated it to $10,000 down.
All right.
And 2 years financing.
That's good.
Asking price for 60 in a pretty house neighborhood with homes selling for 600 plus. The house is brand new, built in 2019, 2,650 square feet on an acre lot.
Okay. So I take that to mean you got good amount of equity in it. You didn't mention the monthly payment, but if you want to live in it, you can do that. If you live in it 2 years and then move, you won't have to pay taxes on the gain. But I kind of hate to see you move in knowing you're going to be moving out.
She did say 2,000 per month on the.
Well, that's cheap for that price house, so that's a good thing. But I'm trying to figure out what you plan to do as an exit strategy, because you either got to give them the house back at the end of the 2 years, or you got to go refinance it, or you got to sell it. One of those three. And I ain't going to let you refinance it. Don't let me hear about you going to refinancing it and guaranteeing a loan. So that's not the house you want to live in permanently, unless you convert that lease option to seller financing, which you probably can do after a few payments.
All right. Final question for this week is from Joseph in North Carolina.
Joseph?
Joseph says, is there another webinar coming up regarding the Pretty House Terms course? And how much does this course cost?
You say another webinar, so I guess I must assume that you've already seen one webinar.
Yeah, or missed it maybe.
Or missed it. ronlegrand.com/terms will get you on a 90-minute webinar. And the answer to your question is it costs $897, but I throw in my retailing course and my wholesaling course along with that $897, which sells for $1997. So go there and there'll be one playing very shortly after you sign up. ronlegrand.com/terms.
All right.
Best thing you can do is get to my boot camp, man, because I'm not going to leave you alone till you get there, because your career ain't going to start till you get to that quick start school.
That's all the questions for this week.
All right. See you guys next week. And maybe a bunch of you in Columbus, first week of September. It's one of those events that I'm actually leaving town to do live and going in an airport to get on a plane, and the things I go through to come to you and bring you the valuable information. I know you're feeling sorry for me. See you next week.